Yes, let's talk about hockey, the show that journeys through the history of the sport of ice hockey from its disputed origins to the game we see today. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, the nation's top hockey league, the Soviet Championship League, dissolved soon afterwards as well. However, that was not the end for top-tier hockey in the former Soviet states. Almost immediately after the Soviet Championship League closed, a new league was formed to take its place, the International Hockey League.
Containing 24 teams during its inaugural season in 1992-93, the International Hockey League made a few changes from its predecessor by splitting the teams into a Western and Eastern Conference, and utilizing a playoff system that contained the top 8 teams from each conference to determine the league champion, similar to the NHL's format. Continuing the string of dominance that they established in the final 3 seasons of the Soviet Championship League, the Dynamo Moscow club finished the year in the top spot of the Western Conference with a 26-9-7 record, thanks to the offense provided by Yan Kaminsky and Sergei Petrenko, then tore through the playoffs with only a single loss on their postseason record to claim the 1993 league crown. In the 1993-94 season, Dynamo Moscow finished the regular season ranked second in the league, behind only their opponent from the championship finals of the previous year, Lada Togliatti. Both teams would only lose a single game each during the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, en route to a rematch for the league title. This time it was Lada Togliatti that emerged the victor after the 5th game of a best-of-5 series, ending Dynamo Moscow's 4-year reign. However, this grudge match continued into the finals for a 3rd straight year in the 1994-95 season. The shoe was on the other foot this year as Dynamo Moscow reclaimed their lost title in another 5-game series. Back on top thanks to the performances of Vladimir Vorobyev, Roman Ilyin, and Ravil Yakubov, Dynamo Moscow was again the team to beat, going 6-3 during the first 3 rounds of the playoffs to return to the finals for a 4th straight year. This time, their opponent was the Metallurg Magnitogorsk club and their star center, Evgeny Korshkov. However, Dynamo Moscow proved to have more weapons at their disposal and defeated the Metallurg club 3-1 for their 2nd consecutive league crown and 6th in 7 years. The following year, professional hockey in Russia would restructure from the International Hockey League into the Russian Pro Hockey League, which contained 3 skill-level divisions, the First League, the Major League, and finally the highest tier known as the Super League.
Unlike its predecessor, the Super League restricted its membership to only Russian teams for the 1996-97 season. The schedule was also split into 2 rounds. The first round was 24 games in length, and afterwards the top 10 teams from the Western and Eastern Conferences would advance to the 20-game second stage of the schedule. In the season's second round, the standings were not split into conferences, and the top 16 teams from this stage then moved on to the league playoffs, a 4-round system containing best-of-3 series in the first 3 rounds and a best-of-5 series for the finals.
This year, the Dynamo Moscow dynasty was finally snuffed out in the 2nd round of the playoffs, when they were swept by Torpedo Yaroslavl. With Dynamo Moscow out of the picture, Torpedo Yaroslavl continued their run all the way to the finals, to face the best team during the regular season, Lada Togliatti. However, Lada Togliatti's best was not good enough, as Torpedo Yaroslavl swept them as well, to go a perfect 9-0 in the playoffs and win the first Super League championship. In the 1997-98 season, Akbars Kazan became the team to beat after they finished the regular season atop the league. However, their playoff run fell 1 win short of reaching the finals when they were upset in Game 3 of their 3rd round match against Dynamo Moscow. This set up a rematch from the International Hockey League finals 2 years earlier between Dynamo Moscow and Metallurg Magnitogorsk. Unlike in '96 though, Magnitogorsk got the better of Dynamo Moscow in 4 games to claim their club's first championship crown. For the 1998-99 season, the league altered its season schedule from a 2-round format to a single-round format of 42 games. This year, only 22 teams competed, which was a 6-team drop from the previous year. However, despite the changes, Metallurg Magnitogorsk put up a repeat performance in the playoffs to bring their title count to 2. In the 1999-2000 season, membership dropped once again, leaving only 20 teams in the league despite membership opening up for teams to join from outside of Russia. This year, Dynamo Moscow rose back to the top, claiming the #1 ranking during the regular season and then going 13-4 in the playoffs for the 2000 league crown to cap off a decade of dominance.
In 2000-2001, league membership dropped by 2 yet again. Even more surprising, though, was Dynamo Moscow's failure to make the playoffs this year. With Dynamo down, Metallurg Magnitogorsk, powered by Andrei Rozin's league-leading 47 points and Alexander Golt's league-leading 28 goals, grabbed the top seed for the playoffs and went 10-2 in the postseason for their 3rd Super League championship in 4 years.
During the 2001-2002 season, though, Metallurg Magnitogorsk would drop to a 5th place standing by the end of the regular season, and though they would make it out of their first round match, the red-hot Lokomotiv Yaroslavl club and their leading goal scorer Andrei Kovalenko swept the defending champions in the second round of the playoffs. Lokomotiv Yaroslavl, who had also swept their first round opponent Krylia Sovietov, then extended their winning streak into the finals against Akbars Kazan, performing a clean 3-game sweep for a perfect 9-0 record in the playoffs and their club's first championship since 1997, when they were known as Torpedo Yaroslavl. The next year, Lokomotiv Yaroslavl repeated both as the top regular season team and then as the champion in the playoffs, after going undefeated in the first 2 rounds and then 3-1 in the finals against Severstal Cherepovets. For the 2003-2004 season, the league shrunk down to 16 teams. During the regular season, Edward Kudermatov's 23-goal performance helped Metallurg Magnitogorsk reclaim the top spot in the league come playoff time. Metallurg Magnitogorsk advanced through the first 2 rounds to make it back into the finals after a 2-year absence. However, their opponent, the 3rd-ranked Avangard Omsk club, who boasted the league's top point-getter Maxim Sushinsky, not only took the final series to the brink, but pulled off a dramatic 1-0 win in the decisive Game 5 as well, for their club's first ever Super League championship. Due to the NHL lockout going on west of the Atlantic, a good number of NHL players migrated over to the Super League for the 2004-2005 season. Bolstered by NHLers like Pavel Datsyuk and Maxim Afinogenov, Dynamo Moscow went 40-13-7 for the best record during the regular season. Then in the playoffs, they would suffer only a single loss during their second-round match against the defending champions, en route to the 2005 Super League crown. Though the Super League lost the extra players it gained from the lockout when the NHL resumed play for the 2005-2006 season, league membership rose by a few teams. Additionally, the playoff system was expanded back to a 16-team bracket for the first time since 2000.
While Metallurg Magnitogorsk was the frontrunner this year, that did not stop Avangard Omsk from again playing the spoiler role for the Magnitogorsk club in a 3-1 upset during the 3rd round of playoff action. However, even though Avangard knocked off the league's top-ranked team, they were not able to do the same to the 2nd-ranked Akbars Kazan in the finals. Instead, Akbars pulled off a series sweep to hoist their team's 2nd-ever Super League championship.
The next year, in 2006-2007, Akbars Kazan was on track to repeat their victory from the previous year. Behind Alexei Morozov's repeat performance as the league's top goal scorer, Akbars claimed the top seed for the playoffs and breezed through the first 3 rounds to return to the finals. In the finals, Akbars faced off against Metallurg Magnitogorsk in a close series that went the full 5 games. And by the end of that 5th game, it was Metallurg Magnitogorsk that sat atop the scoreboard 2-1 for their club's 4th ever league championship. In 2007-2008, league membership was up once again, this time to 20 teams. This year, Salavat Ulayev, led by top scorers Alexander Perezogin and Alexei Tereshchenko, sat atop the league standings, and then picked off their first 3 challengers in the playoffs in dominating fashion to earn their first ticket to the finals. Their opponent, the 5th-ranked club Lokomotiv Yaroslavl. The series would shift back and forth, with Salavat Ulayev taking games 2 and 3 and Lokomotiv taking games 1 and 4. However, for the decisive Game 5, Salavat Ulayev capped off their season with a dominating 4-1 victory for what would be the last Super League championship. After Salavat Ulayev's victory, the top tier of professional hockey in Russia was once again rebranded, this time into what we know today as the Continental Hockey League.